Good morning, beautiful people. Danielle and Sachi here this morning, and I want to talk to you about love, specifically unconditional love and our distortions and limiting beliefs on what love actually is. And my journey with a question that I've been asking myself for the last few months and what it's created for me in my life, and then also how it's expanded and transformed into something even more profound. So I'm going to wait for a couple of people to jump on. When you jump on, make sure you say hello. One, where you're watching from, or two, if you're watching the replay. Good morning, Gary. Lovely to see you this morning. So in my journey these last few months, I have, like all human beings, had triggers. It has been a story. So I've been working on my triggers for consistently. Like, I would say it doesn't stop. My self-awareness doesn't stop. I'm always in self-reflection. I'm always questioning and looking at my behaviors and moving through to find a greater level of consciousness and healing. So in the last few years, I've worked through many limited beliefs. And the only belief systems and attachments that still would get me would be around romantic love. And romantic love has been a story that I've found very challenging to let go of. And I realized how much my ego would drive out of these false beliefs of, I don't know why I did that, sorry. So needs and desires around filling my cup, I guess, in a romantic sense rather than seeing unconditional love. So I can have unconditional love for all people, animals, trees, earth, my kids, and I've worked on detaching from everything. However, I would still get triggered by these inner woundings and my inner child of unworthiness and unlovableness. That's been a real big focus this year for me. And something that sort of came up as a really beautiful tool for me was every time I was getting triggered and I was wanting to push someone away. So when I would get triggered into unworthiness or fear, when it came to deep connections and intimacy, my pattern of behavior has been to shut down and push someone away. Too much, too fearful, can't do it, too hard. And I mean, the more aware I got, the quicker that cycle would be. So maybe I'd only be in it for 5 minutes and then a couple of minutes, or then I'd feel it and I wouldn't even act on it, and I would open myself up and I would open up my heart and I would breathe through it and I would embody it and I would self-soothe. I would tell myself that these are just the stories I've been playing and that I'm not my past and I am not my thoughts, and I would move through these triggers. But what I started to notice was through a massive realization in my life, I realized in every moment there's only two choices. So there's a choice of separation and there's a choice of love or unity or oneness. And that's for every trigger, every circumstance ever. And how this has started to play out in my life was I would get triggered, right? A trigger is my body contracting and pulling away, and I'm pushing something away, and I feel icky and I feel sick and I want to shut down, and my mind closes off and I feel like I'm in this like dark tunnel or empty room where I can't see past anything. And when I'm in that state, I can't hear and I can't receive. Right? So when I'm in a trigger, I can't receive what somebody's saying because it's like I deflect it. It's like this invisible walls and barriers that protect me, deflect anything that's going on in my external reality. So I can't receive anything because I've gone into a fight, flight, freeze response. So when you're in that space, you've separated from your inner being, your essence. So that's a choice of separation. So it's recognizing, okay, whoa, all right, I'm triggered and I'm not myself. in those moments, I am not my authentic, true essence of being. I am not the true I am. Now, to come back in to a heart-centered space, to come back into receiving, to come back into alignment, it would require me opening and breathing and coming back into that space. And sometimes that's really hard, depending on what your pain and suffering and your stories have been and how long you've been in that space. And the thing for me that would always help me was this realization of there's two choices in every moment, separation or love. So what would love choose? What would love choose in this moment where I'm choking on myself and I can't breathe and I don't want to be around anyone and I don't want to see this person ever again because they might leave me? What would love choose? And love, when you really understand, like, love of all things, unconditional love, love is softened. It's an opening. It's a receiving. It's allowance. It's the complete opposite of what your trigger is. So love would choose to show up. Love would not choose to push someone away because of fear. So in the absence of fear is love. So asking myself that question in different situations completely transformed the situation because there was a softening. There was a embracing of the moment. There was the presence. There was no future stories of what's to come. It was, I'm right here in this moment and it's perfect and it's beautiful and I'm going to completely receive all of it and I'm going to embrace it with gratitude for what it is because it's a gift. Right now is a gift in my life. And that's like so beautiful. So that question has just melted me in so many different ways, in different situations where when I choose what would love choose, there's a level of kindness, compassion, understanding, curiosity. How can I be that? Now, where it's transformed for me is the understanding that just by asking what would love choose, I've created the concept and in my mind the very limiting belief and the very idea that I'm not already love. So by asking what would love choose, I've already decided that I am not love by that thought of separateness. So this is something that the Course in Miracles, if you haven't heard of it, talks about in great detail of the very idea of our mind that causes separation of self and other is separation. So as soon as we dissolve the thought of the identity, then you come into the understanding that you are it already. So I am has a big self-embodiment. So I am love. So it's not what would love choose, it's I am love. And if I am love, then there is no resistance. And there is no question. Because when you're in that space, you don't have to question anything because you're in flow. So the idea of that question was still putting me in some form of separation. So it's a super interesting concept, really, because everything that we have as a belief system or everything that we look at within our reality is some story of separation. And the very idea of that is what makes us split in these moments. So anytime that you're always in love, literally, you're always in love. There's no point ever that you're not connected to source, and there's no point ever that you're not unconditionally loved. The only feeling and idea that you aren't is when your mind has created a story or a concept that believes that you are separate. So when you go into that that narrative, then you pinch yourself off from the feeling of it. So it's not that it's not there, it's just that your mind has created enough of so our mind creates the thought or the story, and that generates the feeling. Okay, so the mind is, I guess, what I would say, the generator of our experience. And that's why when we come into no thought, we go into the feeling of just beingness. So if our mind's believing that we have to find unconditional love, or that we have to learn unconditional love, or that we are not unconditionally loved, or that we are not love, that we are not source, that we are not always connected, then that is a part of having to find reconnection, because it is what's pinching us off from that infinite supply, which is always there. It doesn't go away. It's always there. And so in the absence of your resistance, you're always going to feel the love. But it's the resistance that creates the idea that you don't love someone. So when you start to feel your body more, when you start to really, the subtleties in your body, the reactions that you have to people, it's just about a deepening and opening all of the time, and opening from your heart, and opening, literally opening to more and more and more. And I mean, really, as a human, the reality of it is that we are in a physical form of separation. So as we are in this physical form, we're going to constantly be in some form of a subtlety of separation, no matter how advanced our consciousness gets, and how much we come into unity or an enlightened mind, because there's no possible way with physical separation, unless we like spontaneously combust, that we're going to actually go into that full level of consistent wholeness. And that's a part of the journey. So when you can make this understanding your friend, and you can see that your ego is your friend, and that the separateness is what makes this beautiful and divine, but we aren't separate at all, which is such a mind fuck. You can show up in your life with a greater opening and less resistance and more receiving. And it's beautiful, because then you see everyone in your experience as a reflection of you. So there is no self or other, and it's just I am, which means that you can show up in love, because you are love. And that is a beautiful gift, my friends. So I hope that made sense. If it didn't, it's because I'm still probably trying to process some of it myself. And the words, the only reason that we have so many words in the English language is to talk about, or any language, is to talk about the thing that you can't even talk about, because you actually have to feel it, and you have to explain it in so many limitless ways to people to try and understand the concept of what they will never actually intellectually understand. You'll only feel it, and it will be a profound moment where suddenly all of the words and the quotes and the different things that you have heard now make sense, but not from a mind perspective, from a heart-centered embodiment realization, and that's beautiful. Have an absolutely wonderful Tuesday. I love you. See you later.